There it is. Save replay, schedule stream. All right, we are rolling live. I want to see if I can grab, before we get really moving here, I wonder if I can grab real quick. If I go to my YouTube. New subscriber, Sydney Key. Oh, it makes me feel good every single time. I wish Streamlabs like opened up like the stream that you were doing.
Guitar is fun to play, man. Tell you what.
You getting there? You get to that point where it's enjoyable?
I've been playing for the entire time. But yes.
So? I was gonna say, I don't think so. I think when I first starting an instrument, I want to freaking throw it out the freaking window.
You gotta acknowledge your stuff, right? Like,
yeah, that's true. All right. All right, let's dive into it. What's my tagline for this? Do you remember what it is? We haven't done this in a while. This is the thing. This is the whole. Something about we go behind the covers and between the lines. Oh,
sounds cool.
I'll figure it out. I've kept it because it's one of the few things that I've said that you've been like, ooh, and you're like, you liked it. All my introductions for you, you're like, scrap that, dude. I hate it.
Oh, for me, yeah, I hate your introductions for me. They're horrible.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah,
good. Yeah, I'm okay with that. All right. Welcome. You have found Read Between the Lines, where Sydney and I go behind the covers and between the lines of our favorite books to try and make them your favorite too. This month, I guess we only do this every month now, which is actually kind of nice because I feel like we can just chill. So we are gonna dive into Old Man's War. This is a fiction book that was recommended to us by a friend of ours, Alec Udell, also known as Mustard Button. Yeah, dude, I actually figured out his last name for this so that I could be
call him Mustard.
Should we just call him Mustard?
Do people call him Mustard Button? That's a thing people call him.
Hold on, I forgot that I need to have this set up. Crap. Read between the lines. Does this go? Boom, boom. Yeah, okay, cool. We do. Or I do. I should say I do. I don't know if we do.
There you go.
All right. I'm going to start over because I forgot that I have to switch between us. I thought we were fancy and had a producer, but we do not. It's just me.
You could have like a fancy audio bot that detects audio.
If you want to code that, I'd be more than happy to use it.
I would not code it. I would look it up.
I don't think that...
If you're learning coding, Drake, that should be your first and last response to a new problem. Look up the solution online.
You're right.
Yeah.
Pretty much Google it is the programmer's code to live by. All right. I'm going to go and hit record.
And I feel where like if you think you're running across a new problem coding, right? It's like pretty unlikely.
It's not very likely that's true. All right. Welcome. You have found Read Between the Lines. This is the podcast where we take you behind the cover and between the lines of our favorite books, and we try to make them your favorite books. So what? You got a problem with that? You got a problem with that, Sydney? Don't forget, I can see you.
So good. Your intro was going so well, and then you did like the charismatic point thing, and it was but I support it.
Yeah.
You interact with the audience, Rick. I'll be here.
Yeah. Look, leave the audience interaction and the community building to me. But you be the brains. I'll be the charisma. Okay. But you're right. Yeah. Look at that, Josh Dale. How you doing, Josh?
Doing good. How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty good. We're about to start up our Read Between the Lines. We're only 45 minutes late from when we say we're going to start, so we're actually doing pretty good.
For this time, I think that's about right.
Yeah.
Surprised by now, you can just try to schedule 45 minutes earlier than when you actually intend to start, so we could actually kind of sort of start on time.
This one's on me. Sorry, what did you say, Sid?
I was on time.
Yeah, Sydney was on time. This one's all on me. I got a late start on the day and wake up till 7.
Man, I got up at 6:30 this morning. Went on a 3-mile run. Got some this Swamp Rabbit Cafe. It was a great time. Great way to start the day.
Yeah.
As anyone gets early to run, it's critical for them to say.
You should tell as many people as you can.
Yeah, that's a great way to start the day. It's not a good day unless you tell as many people as you can. That's a great way to start the day.
That you had a great way to start the day. Yeah, especially when it's a run. All right, Josh, we're gonna hit it. Thanks for if you pop in the chat and tell us how great of a day you started. All right.
Anytime. Have fun.
We'll do. All right, we are and pretend like that never happened. All right. We're going to be talking about Old Man's War. This is a book by, I believe it's John Scozzi. Do you happen to have it in front of you? Scuzzy.
No, I don't know. You don't listen to me.
This was a recommendation from Alec Udell, Mustard Button.
Scalzi.
Is it Scalzi?
Yeah, Scalzi. Yeah.
Scalzi.
Yeah, it's probably Scalzi.
That was worth it. Thank you. All right, we are going to dive into some of the themes here that I've found as far as kind of what, who are people, what constitutes a person, what constitutes who someone is, the ethical ramifications of, enlisting the elderly and kind of what that commentary is on how our society views old people. And also just the fun stuff of a sci-fi book. I've got a question primed and ready for Sydney, so I'm looking forward to his answer and seeing what he goes with. But without further ado, let me bring in the man, the legend, the Kraken himself, Sydney Key.
What's up, man? Quick aside, though, I didn't realize it until you were just talking, but I think you pointed out previously. These books, the nonfiction fiction book, really do align very well this month with each other.
Oh, yeah.
Question where do you draw that line for what makes a person a person? It's pretty good stuff.
Yeah,
and it's nice to start with the nonfiction as well. You start out there, and then we'll go into more reasonable. The more reasonable envelope, I think. But
yeah. So if you're watching this just the fiction part, definitely check out our nonfiction because we go into the Song of the Cell, which actually talks about making the next human being, of upgrading people's pancreases and hearts, the actual nonfiction work that's going on in cellular biology that would make some of what happens in Old Man's War actually possible. Which there are some pretty significant ethical ramifications, which are, can just because we can do something, should we do it? So I would love to dive into that. But Sydney, go ahead. What was your overall impression of Old Man's War before we really dive into it?
Good fun time, man. I think you hit it on the head, though. I think we read a lot of fiction books that are just a good time, and don't hit you with any questions, capital Q questions, as you're having a good time. But I think this book did a really good job of being like, this is some good stuff, but oh man, that's a good question. How do we deal with that? I think they did a good job of kind of like straddling both those without becoming too serious, right? It was good stuff, fun stuff, made you think, but didn't crush you or anything.
I can agree with that. First off, I do feel like I should clarify that I listened to this book in audiobook form. So for all the purists out there who value the main line, directly into you as a reading and doesn't count it, well, sorry, but I enjoyed this book.
What's the name of this stream?
Say again?
What's the name of the stream? Just curious.
As we go on through Read Between the Lines, look, William Dufresne, I think it might be Dufresne. He did an incredible job with the audiobook. He his interpretation and his voices. I think he did an incredible job. He makes me want to go listen to his other audiobooks, just for his I don't care what the book is, just his reading. I can totally see following an artist that way of ending up listening to books, not because of the book. Right now I go and I listen to books because I want the book and I want to hear it. I want to be able to listen to it. I could totally see a day where I am following a voice artist rather than the author. Because he does a good job.
The audio narration, a good narrator makes a huge difference on the book. It's kind of wild.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I liked how this book made me feel. Look, the way I cared about the protagonist, the way I began to think about myself in the world, and would I sign up for the service? The way I wanted each small story to keep going, but I also cared about John Perry, the main protagonist, his overarching experience. So a lot of the times when you get these stories, it's you have this overarching character and the little stories break it up, but I felt like it did a really good job of making me invested in John Perry enough as a character that every situation he was in I cared about, even though it didn't feel like we got this overarching war or through line. It was more of just, okay, we're following John Perry and that's his little stories are what make up the whole book and make this cohesive whole. I don't know how the author did it. Because it really was just a breaking up of a bunch of small short stories, but
it almost, now that you say that, when looking back on it, it almost feels like a series of novellas or something just pulled together with a central thread, right?
Central character.
And John Perry, the character is the thread there. But I mean, trying to think through it, there's definitely a plot going through the whole thing, right? And it's pretty, and you're okay, the plot checks out. But you're right. It is very much, and I think the author uses the time jumps well, because it is they're pretty contained buckets going through the whole story. But it does feel cohesive. It doesn't feel abrupt or anything. And each time, I think you said it well, because each time you get into each new section of the book, there's new characters, but you're never too bummed the old characters are gone, except for John Perry, because you have new ones that are interesting, and I think the author did pretty well with that.
Yeah, think about it. Let me know what you think. Could this story work? I don't think it would work as well, but would it work if John Perry didn't exist? If you just each time instead of John Perry, it was Clark Kent, and then it was Sidney Key, and then it was Drake Shadwell. Each time we time jumped, could that feasibly work?
I think you'd be kind of bored. You'd be why do I care about this, right? Unless you were in that camp. The way it's written, if the book wanted to be much more one of those fancy sci-fi books that are prove me wrong, please, I wanted to do that and just be kind of a little, each narrative would be a little flex from the author about the system he's created and that kind of stuff. But in the way it's written, no, it's definitely character based for sure.
Yeah, and so that's what I think it was such a good choice by the author to okay, these could be individual novellas, these could be individual stories, but they're tied together, this one single linchpin, which is John Perry. And then he even manages to do little short stories by the old farts. So like by taking us, so there's this system in the world that like they get, they come together as really tight friends at the very beginning, but they get split up by the war, right? And look, Sydney and I decided a long time ago that we're not going to really make this podcast for people who like haven't read the book and are trying to explain. We're really like just giving you a taste so that if you haven't read the book, we won't spoil it. And reading the book back will like we're being so incohesive in our approach to books that it doesn't matter if we spoil things because you won't get it, but getting you an interest enough to like go and read it on your own. So if you're like, what is an old fart? There's a war. Like what is it? I'm not gonna say it's intentional, but this is how we do it so that you want to go read the book, or if you have read the book, you get excited because you know what we're talking about. Which
I think it's a nice way to do it for us not to have to go through the effort of outlining the part of the book. I think it's important.
Thank you. It's a great cop out. I agree. So he takes these old farts, his friends. They get split up across the universe, or potentially multiple universes, depending on who you believe on, like why, like how the jumps work. And then we get these little glimpses into their lives, right? We get these glimpses away from John Perry's storyline. So I think it does a good job of breaking up the tragedy, of breaking up these like moments, so it doesn't always feel like, oh, why is John Perry always able to like get out of these situations? Like everyone around him is dying and he's the only one that survives. Like you do get that sense, but at the same time, it's not repetitive to where like you're cleaning house every time. Like everyone around him is not. You're getting these little doses of reality without him being like the only one that survives and everyone's a red shirt around him. Like do you know what I'm talking about? Like do you get that feeling of like how the characters were kind of separated, so it created these little pockets of intimacy, these little pockets of attachment to the characters, and so they weren't like their storylines were able to be bigger because they were outside of the main storyline. Does that make sense? Like, do you get what I'm talking about?
One thing that did is it gave you like a much better like view of the scope of the universe the author created, right? Because without those characters distributed around, hearing the little bits, hearing that intimacies to give you reason to care about that character, without that in the book, it's like it feels much more constrained on the narrative, on like the scope of the narrative, right?
Yeah.
Because then you're just seeing these little teeny sections of it, but having those little almost asides kind of thing where you hear these other characters, I think did a really good job of zooming you out. In a way that I think was little intimate moments because it was kind of required to make you care. Because otherwise you're like, why am I hearing this guy talk about XYZ?
Yeah, these random, like the one I'm thinking of is the algae, like the planet. You remember the planet that was overtaken by algae and moss?
So to be fair, all of the stories were of his friends dying.
Yes.
So.
What do you mean by that? Like, what do you mean, like the?
Well, you pointed about like how nice and intimate all these little aside scenes were, but they all were of his friends dying. All of the scenes.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like these little pockets of tragedy, right? Every time we get it, and that is true. Every time we get a glimpse outside of John Perry's narrative, it's tragedy, because we only get glimpses of when their jump drives come back after they die, like after his friends, like the circumstances in which his friends die, and it's never like it highlights all the different tragic ways that John Perry could die. Because I think all of his friends are almost little John Perrys. Like they're little ways to explore. Like this could be how John Perry could have died, and like lets us increases the risk. It increases the sense of like danger that we have for our protagonist because we're able to explore other ways like that things can go wrong in this crazy war where you're going up against aliens that you have no idea, and then. But it doesn't happen to John Perry, right? Like John Perry is able to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That makes me curious, Drake. Well, who was your favorite alien race?
Who was my favorite alien? Dude, I don't know about favorite, but the algae one like stuck with me. Like the story about the algae, like that would be terrifying. absolutely, like a you have this concept and this what is it called, perception of what is dangerous and what is real and what life can throw at you, and then you get on this planet and what is usually something that is completely harmless and like you're treating it with a certain level of hesitation and caution completely overrides what you would consider like to be a danger, and then you're dead. Like you're like that, you're dead. That story, I don't know, that one stuck with me. Like that visual of the algae forcing its way down the throat in order to suffocate the person and like and eliminate them and take over their body at a cellular level.
Went in there and then dropped acid in their lungs.
Yeah.
Inside out.
And just it, oh my gosh. Yeah, it was like it digested him from the inside out. It was disgusting, and I don't know, it stuck with me. Especially his little cursory, and then the government decided not to pursue it because it was seen to be more financially viable to move on to the next planet than to herbicide the entire one and make it suitable for habitation again. That's terrifying. They're just like, yeah, we'll just leave it.
I mean, you got a bunch of planets available, right? Like, why care about that one?
Yeah, when there's the whole universe out there that like went. And let's moving forward. So, what was yours? What was your before we move on? What was your favorite alien race?
The small ones were pretty cool. It's just small
yeah,
thumped them the whole day. I like that. I like that.
Correct.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, in a sad, really depressing kind of way. But it was nice.
It was very dark comedy.
There. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Because the author included like a little Braveheart moment of one of the little teeny dudes like going trying to like go ape shit and like kill John Perry, and it's like, ow, like it's just like pinching his skin or whatever, right? He's just like and smashes it, and he goes and kicks over some skyscrapers they built or something. It's like oof, that's good stuff.
Yeah, and I think he did a good job of setting up of like because they mentioned that they were lethal when they were able to be like in space, because like they were able to be quick and nimble and like were in the right, but the moment they got out of the combat that they were trained for and was in their best interest, they were destroyed. Like they were outmatched. And yeah, that's really cool. Okay, so I have a couple questions for you. First off, would you so the Colonial Defense Force, how they recruit people from Earth, which is interesting that they need to recruit people from Earth and they only specifically recruit people from Earth. It doesn't go into it, so I kind of would like to talk about like why we think it's required that they get them from Earth rather than like from the other colonies or anything like that. But the way the CDF, Colonial Defense Force, recruits is anyone over 75. They are put on a beanstalk and essentially declared legally dead, and then they become part of the CDF army for a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 10, and up to they can renew their contract to 10 years. Essentially, they create mercenaries out of the 75-year-olds. And the whole beginning of the book is like, how are they going to do it? Why are they going to recruit these old people that are at the end of their prime in order to go fight a war? Like usually you want the most fit kind of people. So all that to say, like I won't spoil how they do it, but they have a rejuvenation program, and they talk about it like somehow they've got to make us young, right? Somehow they have to make us at least wartime viable. So knowing all of that, I have 2 questions for you. Would you sign up for it knowing, like, if you'd already read this book so you knew what was in store for you? And 2, would you sign up not knowing? So being in the situation of John Perry and all you know is that you're going to go fight a war and you're 75. So I want to know, Sydney Key, would you sign up to be a part of the Colonial Defense Force, CDF?
I don't think so, because I kind of want to die as an old person, sign me up for that. Sounds nice and warm. But I get 100% why, like, the appeal, right? Especially not knowing how they do it. Not knowing how, and maybe I get to be 75 and my point of view changes drastically. Not knowing how I do it, I think how they do it would make me much more likely to sign up.
To sign up?
Yeah, much more likely, yeah.
Are you doing it because now that you know how it's done, it turns you away and you're not interested, or just because you'd be so curious of how it's done, you couldn't resist like figuring it out by going to do it?
And for me, it'd be like like there's a whole universe, and I'm stuck on Earth. Like I want to go see what's out there. Well, and then if I don't know how they do it,
they talk about that, right? That's part of a big motivator for why people do it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off, but you froze, so I stole your limelight because
Right.
your Discord's freezing.
That's reasonable.
All right, now you're back.
Hello. But yeah, I mean, like I don't have much more to unpack there. It's I think if you didn't want to die at 75, that's the way to go for sure. I think it's a great way to get rid of old people. Fantastic way to get rid of old people, man.
Did you notice like I got really strong parallels between like death and heaven, like and dying and ascending to heaven, because like the beanstalk was this magical elevator that takes them up into the sky and into space, and like essentially they ascend into space up to the heavens, and like when they're old they're declared legally dead, they can never return, they're completely banned, all of their like you essentially die. Do you feel like they're dead? Like would you consider them to be dead?
Post the change, yes.
Mm.
Right? Because how they do that switch thing, it's not the body anymore, right?
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead. Yeah, let's go ahead and talk. Like, if you don't want spoilers, skip ahead because this is definite spoiler. Of this is how they transfer the body. Which Sydney, do you want to talk about it? Because I feel like you're sciencey.
They just do a brain scan over a week or so, and they make you experience a bunch of strong emotions, so they get the full depth of your brain scanned in and your thought patterns and stuff, and then they clone you over to they transfer you over through some kind of fancy electromagnetic thing into a new body so you sign up at 65, you tell them you're going to do it, you sign your contract and stuff, and they take some DNA, and they spend 10 years growing your clone. That's a much upgraded version of you. Like, it's got like, looks similar to you, except it's hot, of course. Has like a green skin for photosynthesizing, and is much stronger, faster, XYZ, right? And then they change over that body. And that's why I'm saying I think they're actually dead, because the old body's dead. It's just sitting there, turned off.
And that is where I think the big theological argument of what constitutes who you are. Like, is it your memories? Is it your spirit? Is it like what constitutes, like, it's the idea of, and I wrote this down over and over. Do you know Theseus's ship? Have you ever heard of it?
The bits and pieces.
Yeah. So if you have a ship and then over the course of its life, you replace board by board by board by board until nothing remains of the original ship, is it still Theseus's ship? And that's the idea. That's the idea behind this, to me, is do you still consider this person the same person, even though it's exchanged at a cellular level? I think it's the same person. Because if you're able to transfer someone's consciousness into something else, like I think that's the same person, right? Like what constitutes that person?
For me, it sounded like there was no particular reason they had to turn off the old body.
Yeah, that was something I want to talk about.
Right? Because you could just, like when you're on your computer and you do the cut command instead of copy. I think they're doing the cut when they could just as easily do the copy, right?
Yeah.
And then if the scenario is they copy you into a different body, is that copy as viable as a human as you are? Right? Sure, it experiences the same emotions, the same latitude, but does it have the same humanness,
depth, is it the same human? Whenever I cut you off, Sydney, I'm sorry. It's because your video freezes. I just want you to know.
You self-respect. It's cool. I get it. My mom says the same thing. It's okay.
So yeah, because I noticed that same thing of how the process worked wasn't you go from your body and you directly go over to your new body. It was you go from your body to a computer bank somewhere and then into your body where you're jagging around. And then I re-listened to that part to really dive into like, okay, how does it exactly work? And
Kind of slow down the thing if you were reading it, but you know what can you
what
do?
What are you saying? What? So,
What? If you were reading it, you could have just slowed down and really focused on the words instead of maybe listening to it 3-4 times. But you know, media is up to you. You know.
Well, I only read it twice, and you know, it was more copy paste versus a cut and paste. So like it stayed in my mind more. But I really felt like the way the narrator spoke it to me let me really visualize it.
The humanness in you.
Yeah, the humanness. So it specifically, his eyes opened, and he could see himself in real time. So he could see, like, he was conscious in.
Yeah.
Because he could see himself at the same time from both perspectives, which then that kind of makes me think, okay, well then he never did get split into two. He was controlling two versions of himself at one time. There wasn't copy paste. There was a connection, and he was visually seeing both. And he even said, "I'm defying physics," because he was in two places at once. So it was like almost like he had two controllers set up, and he was controlling like two versions of himself at one time. And when they cut it, there was this moment where he saw his body like slowly kind of die. Like his eyes, his consciousness kind of faded, and his eyes glazed over, and then I think the exact phrase was, he realized that he was no longer needed, and his eyes closed. And then he was gone. But he was still breathing, and his heart was pumping, and they said they were going to store him in the short term, which is very ominous, don't you think? Of like, what are they doing as far as what does short term mean? What does storage mean? They're not exactly trustworthy with what they do with people's genetic data.
No, it's a very curious, like, you know, ethical point. It's like, so if you copied a person completely, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're sitting there. Wait, that's not a good way to explain my point. So you have a person born and raised, John Perry, before he gets transferred over, right? And he's sitting there, and then he gets scanned, and a copy's made of him, and it's sitting over there, but the original's still there. Mm-hmm. Is that copy as much John Perry as the original John Perry is?
Well, yeah, I think the answer is yes.
But does what happens to the original John Perry matter?
Say again?
Does what happens to the original John Perry matter?
Well, that John Perry already agreed to have this process done, right? Like, he knows he's going to die. Like, he knows he's signed up for legal death. And I think maybe what it comes down to is, they don't go into it, which is frustrating, but I think it comes down to what is the mental capacity of what is left over, and what do they do with it after all said and done? Do they like send it to the cremator while it's still alive, and they've forcefully induced a coma, or are they in a coma? Like, are they in an irrecoverable, like they said that he was brain dead. And this goes to the discussion of, do you pull the plug on someone who's medically brain dead? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, do you pull that plug? This is that scenario. Is John Perry brain dead and no chance of recovery? Once you send enough of the consciousness, does it not have a chance to recover? Then yeah, you cremate it. Or did they truly copy pasta and they just forcefully induce the coma? If that's the case, then I think you're right that like you have a kind of moral obligation to whatever this John Perry is left, to kind of let them live out the rest of their natural life as the old version of John Perry, but just a new version of John Perry is now out there.
Budding. like a sponge, like sponge budding off to make different
Yeah.
kinds of, I like that interpretation. So instead of the thesis of this book, what happens is you go up there and you spend a week having fun, get spun off, get a copy of yourself spun off, then you go back down to Earth and die. But there's a version of you out there fighting.
Yeah.
What if that's what army service was? Right? You just got a copy of your consciousness cloned out, and that was it.
Yeah, and they did it. I mean, it'd be better than what we do now, which is just recruit people at a very young age before they really are even mentally conscious of who they are, and just say,
Theory is the OG mechanism for enhancement out of poverty.
war? Or
No,
military service?
Specifically, say yes, serving the military.
Yeah. It is, yeah, I guess it is a easy way to get out of like crappy situations.
Yep.
Crap. There was we went off on an incredible tangent, but what I really wanted to focus on here was, did you you say you wouldn't go unless you didn't know like the curiosity would get you. Did you notice that everyone signed up? Like there was huge demand for like they wanted to go at 75. It wasn't like they had to be conscripted. Like think of military service now. If you tried to do a Say again?
I don't think everyone signed up.
I think a significant portion of the population did. Remember,
but because remember his family and like everyone they talked to were surprised. And I don't think if everyone was signing up, they would be surprised. I'd be like, "Oh, I'm sorry to see you go, but
yeah,
see you later."
See you later. I'll see you up there.
Yeah, but I think I was like the way it stands tonight. I'd say like 20%, maybe something like that in there. Not half, but a good bit more than like 1%, right?
I mean, there were like hundreds a day
over the Earth.
Oh yeah, I guess over the course of the entire Earth. Hey, give me 1 second. For some reason, I'll edit this out of the stream. Think about that for a second while I try and figure out why I can't. Why won't it let me? No, I want. Please hold. Kelsey popped in the chat, and I was trying to talk to her, and now it won't let me. It won't let me comment.
Oh no.
Oh no, dude! How are we gonna have chat interaction? Crap! What is the password for this? Ooh. God, dude, I love these talks.
I'm sorry, I was reading an email. What's up?
Hello, hello.
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why your video keeps freezing, my guy.
I do. It's because of my bad internet.
Yeah, I guess that'll do it.
No mystery.
No mystery there.
Mm-mm.
Oh, did I tell you, dude? I'm gonna have a much cleaner setup come next month.
Oh, why?
Because so Kelsey and I are moving in together, and we are going to say again.
You have better stuff than you.
No, we're going to sleep in the closet of the master bedroom.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so then we're gonna have. I've kind of figured out a setup where I can have just like a wall like right behind me, and it's fine. And so then like setting up some floating shelves and stuff, so that I can have a kind of like a nicer background.
Very nice. Like mine.
Yes, like yours.
Mine's too far away. Can you do though?
It's still pretty clean. I mean, your desk had like throws off kind of the cohesiveness of it, but pretty sure. Say again.
On Josh's shitty fucking desk.
Yeah, the Josh's shitty fucking desk.
On my desk.
Not your desk. You're right, buddy.
My desk is this desk.
Yeah, your desk is the nice, clean cut.
My desk is not. How do you know?
All right, now, did that work? I really hope that worked. It's just annoying that Streamlabs doesn't let me. It's so dumb that Streamlabs doesn't let me chat like right there. That's dumb. All right. I wonder if I just need to do it like this. So I have to actually have YouTube up in order to be able to like be in my chat.
You're streaming on YouTube?
Yeah.
Why are you banned on Twitch?
No, I just I think YouTube I just like YouTube better.
Hot take.
Hot take. Dude, really? I feel like that's pretty. Huh, how do I get in here for the view in live control room? There it is. Moderation, close. Does this work? Good morning. Yeah, it does. Okay. We back. What were we talking about?
I don't know.
All right. Neat. Okay. Okay. Yeah, talking about how we were talking about how much people like or don't like the conscripting to the military service. Like how likely we felt like it was.
I don't think a lot of them did.
You don't think so? It seemed
I
like
think some did for sure, right? But like not a ton.
I mean, look at how we value age, which is we don't. Like that's kind of the point that I'm getting at is the way our current society is set up, the way we value people. Old people don't have a place. Like, because usually in a culture, like in a tribe, the old person's place would be, hey, don't eat those mushrooms because they'll kill you. Like, they were the source of knowledge and like they were, how accumulation of knowledge, they were wisdom they were passing on, and we've replaced that with the internet of like, hey, no, just your Papa Google. Papa Google, YouTube will teach you how to fix a leaky pipe and, make dinner and, survive. And as a result, we've taken away the value that age has in our society. Like, we don't value it anymore for anything. So what other purpose does a 75-year-old even see in their life except, oh yeah, let me be young again. That's all I care about. I'll go fight a war. Just let me be young again.
I think having an option makes it different. Right? Because like it's not current world plus change happens in a year and it's new. Where I think if that change happened now, everyone and their freaking brother would sign it for sure. But it's like been going on for like 100 years, like hundreds of years or whatever. The time period is unclear in the book, right? And it's like it's a thing that's been going on for a while. And I think having a choice makes you value old people more. Because the ones who are not valued or leave. They're just gone, right?
Oh, they have. Oh yeah. So if you're 75 and you've got a family and a bunch of grandkids and you're able to like be a part of their lives, then yeah, you probably like, no, I want to stick around here beyond 75. Like I don't want to start over. I don't want to go to war. But if let's say your wife dies, your wife dies, your family, like you're kind of separated from your family.
I think, like just like, career choices and that kind of stuff, having a choice for an alternative path is what creates value, right? And forces people to create value. And having like a pressure relief valve on, folks who don't have those folks, to old people who don't have the family and community to provide that role for, like you just said, Drake, I think those people just leave automatically, and then people would be a little more concerned about making sure their people they loved had that option, had that reason to stay.
And CDF does such a good, like, it's not clear why the CDF needs them. You know what I mean? Like, why they have to have any sort of consciousness, why they can't just, make it them all the Ghost Brigade, which, once again, spoiler incoming. Why they can't just, make bodies and pump random consciousnesses in them, and why do they need the experiences of the old people? And, like, why do they need, like, an actual, like, original DNA? Like, it's really not clear why they need it, but
I think they get a little bit when they're talking about like psychology of the Ghost Brigade and stuff. They say like they need a bunch of soldiers with memories and experience already, so that when they go to war, they don't go insane. Something like that, because otherwise they would go crazy. Because without grounding memories, it ruins you or something like that.
Or I think they touched on it a couple times of like, what are you fighting for? Like eventually they were able to make them like, oh, I'm fighting for to keep my squad mates alive. But that came up a lot of like, why are you fighting for humanity? Like if you don't feel human. And so how are the Ghost Brigades a step away from being human? What make that, because that pops up a couple times too, is what makes you human? Well, it's kind of your ties back to humanity, your memories, is it in your DNA, is it in your genetics? But if your genetics are modified to the point where you're barely even human, like why are you fighting for this common idea of humanity? Why are you putting yourself through it? So yeah, I guess that's why is like the CDF found value in something that was largely valueless. And that's how you make a profit, right? Like if you're able to turn anything that other people don't value into a valuable product, then you can get it for cheap and then convert it to value, which they're able to do. They're turning essentially the final years of people into the most valuable years because they're soldiers. They have life experience. They're now able to convert that into value, which is brilliant, right? Like you're not only you're taking a drain of resources away from the earth, which is a good thing. Like you're taking them after the large amount of value, most valuable time that Earth sees them as like their most productive years, and then you're taking them, giving them new purpose and creating value from what the place that you're taking them from didn't really value.
I agree fundamentally, but I hate to say it, Drake, but you're really writing the case for anti-capitalism.
What do you mean?
With your point. I mean, like, evaluation of the human life, based on different phases of productivity and all that kind of shit. I get this correct, for sure, on a gross output term, but it's a slippery slope.
Well, I think that's the slope this book works on. And I think it transitions very well into our current view of people, like at least in America. Like I don't know about other countries, but America views their value very heavily on. All right, what are you producing for society? What's your output? What are you able to create?
I don't think that's true.
You don't think so?
No, people value people based on how much money they can make, which is not the same thing, even close.
Okay, well then, the potential for I don't know why, but the full screen version is what's messing up. What if? Hold on, I wanna try and. Why is this? Yeah, why is this screwing up? Is my computer not strong enough? That's sad. Leave it there, Chi. Okay, let's try this again.
I like Brad Pitt.
So, I mean, so you're saying that society values people by how much money they can make, but not by. I guess, are you saying because old people can run businesses and like have an understanding of business? Is that what you're implying?
No, I'm just disagreeing with what you said about American society valuing people off of impact they can have on creating things for the world. We value people based on how much money they make. That's it. That's where it ends, I think. And if they happen to make money by creating impact, great. But we don't really care about how they make the money.
Yeah, I guess that's what I mean is like as people age, they don't produce as much value to like a company, and once you're not producing value for the company or whatever thing, then we're essentially say, well, good luck. Bye.
Well, the problem with that language is the distinction between value and impact, right? So when you say value can very easily be interchanged with money, with monetary value, right? That's that connotation. When you say impact, I think it's much more clear. You mean like ability to change like the nature and state of the world to make someone's life better, easier, XYZ, right? And there's a big distinction between those two branches of thought on how you think and how you decide if something's worth it, not if something's valuable. Because I think that's the distinction. If you said something is like valuable, able to be valued versus worth it, there's two different things, especially when you start adding money. Well, particularly especially when you live in America, because there's not adding money in. Money is implicit in the conversation, automatic.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to are you able to make money, and unless you're like a CEO or an established professional, then your ability to make money is a lot harder once you get older. So like it's much easier to just like send you off to war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But only if you are disillusioned, you are not a member of an active community where you can, make an impact by, sharing your ideas and like thoughts and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, a good audience for the CDF.
And then there's also just the nostalgia factor of like, oh, I want to be young. I remember when I could swim, 5 miles and not even care. Like everything hurts. Like that's what I don't know. That's what John Perry like focuses on. That's what they all talk about. But I wonder if they care about that if they feel valued. Like if they're a part of a community that's like that's not what we care about. Like do you still struggle with feeling like I'm not sure.
I think if they've got the community they're serving well, that's you have much less reason to leave, unless getting old sucks as much as people say it does, right?
Yeah, we'll know when we're old.
Yeah, unless the explicit physical condition of being old just sucks as much as people say it does, right? It doesn't matter how well belonging you feel. You just feel so shitty compared to how you used to feel. That when you have that option, that's it, right?
Then it's just there isn't really another option. Okay. Well, I've got one last question for you. One last thing I want to go into. Before we do, I want to see if I can finagle with Discord to make it's freaking out, dude. Like it's going wild at this point, and it's funny because like so it's not your internet. It's my computer because you on my phone looks fine. Yeah, so I need to. What is taking up all of my?
Your RAM going, bro?
Yeah. My GPU it says it's able to. Well, hold on. What happens when I go screen? It says my stuff is only working like below 50. My GPU is getting up there.
You got Google Chrome open, dude?
I do.
Close that shit.
Is
I
Google
heard it.
Chrome is Google Chrome really that much of a resource hog?
You have 30 tabs open, you.
Oh, I had like 4.
I'm gonna take a nap after this.
Good call, dude.
Melina, are you buried down there? I guess she's down there.
Okay, it says it's. Oh well. Let's hope. Let's hope it holds. Seems like it's going okay.
So, guys.
All right, Kelsey. Thanks for joining in. Have fun at your parade. All right. All right. Let's see it. No. You're frozen again.
Oh, Drake, are you into the whole like ice bath and like sauna stuff? Seemed like you would be.
I'm not into it, but not because I don't think I don't really have the ability to do it. I think I would enjoy doing it if I had access to it.
This whole like I love the fucking like stereotype of the dudes who are about that. It's just funny stuff.
Oh, you're watching? Did you just watch a clip of like the guy that makes fun of those people?
Yeah, yeah.
Is it the white dude that also made fun of White Claws?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah,
Funny video.
it is a funny video.
Made me chuckling.
Had me chuckling.
What
Had
else
me
about Old Man's
chuckling.
War?
Say again.
What else about Old Man's War?
Okay. Well, let's hope this works. Okay, so God, I really hate that you're freezing up so much. Good try, dude. Good try.
Huh.
That's fun. That was funny. That's funny, buddy.
Yeah, I got it.
I wonder if I don't do a pop out. Is that better? Would that be better? What if I just?
I can't go to the gym after this. That would be a bad idea either. Let's see.
Can you keep moving around at least a little bit? Yeah, no, still doesn't work. Oof, that's frustrating, dude.
Of the freezing?
Yeah. It's like it doesn't really, there's not really a reason. I'm using 60% of my GPU. So it feels like it should be fine. Like it's a lot, but it
Okay, man,
doesn't.
it's nothing to do with my internet because like my internet is. I can look at my little connection symbol thing down there in the right bottom left corner, and it definitely is dropping in and out for sure.
But because I have you open on my phone as well, and and I see you fine, like on my phone.
I think it might be like. I mean, it might. I think my internet might be exacerbating like a screen grab issue.
Well, no, because you're freezing in Discord. You're not freezing in like the Streamlabs. Like my view of you on my computer screen is messing up. My view of you on the phone is fine. So like your output is fine. It's my receiving it is what's the problem.
Peculiar.
It's peculiar.
Maybe God's dead, bro.
Say again.
Maybe God's dead.
Maybe God is dead.
Maybe we killed him.
With our... Dude, I'm very, very tempted to get some of the RTX 40 laptops.
Why?
Because, like, it's a desktop, but in laptop form.
Isn't it huge?
No, they look actually pretty sleek.
Oh, well.
Oh, that's not what I want to get right now. But yeah, maybe when I get more, into the remote life.
There you go.
But I was hoping I may be able to control. All right, dude. Well, let's just do it. Let's just wrap this up. I got to get you out of here so you can do a workout. All right, I've got.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, I've got one more question for you for Old Man's War.
Mm-hmm.
Would you kill John Perry? No. All right.
Disrespectful salute.
This is the French one, right?
I don't know, man.
I don't know. Okay. Last question for you. Really easy, but I think it's a really fun one. What are some of the sci-fi elements from this book that you would most want in your actual real daily life?
In this one?
Yeah.
I mean, the jumping's cool. Space travel.
Space travel?
Yeah. That's kind of it, really, for me.
Really? You're not interested in the Brain Pal or any other like their upgrades that they do to the humans?
No, that's kind of tangential, I think. Just the space travel. Not do it for me.
That'll do it for you. All right. Mine's the chlorophyll skin. That
wasn't even a big deal. That wasn't even plot pivotal at any point.
Yeah, but dude, think about being you're able to absorb energy from the sun and be fully functional and good to go on 2 hours of sleep.
Is that why they could do that?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I agree with that. Yeah, actually, that's pretty neat.
That's pretty neat.
2 hours of sleep, then that's pretty wild. Actually, that'd be cool.
And to be fully functional, like not like 2 hours of sleep and you're like, but like, no, they were good to go on 2 hours of sleep.
I suppose they figured out what sleep is in the book. They don't talk about it, right? But they figured it out to be able to correct it. I don't know. I would like to know what sleep is.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought about for a little bit the Brain Pal, but the phone is close enough to it for my liking, and I didn't like the idea of all of my thoughts being able to be monitored.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. No, 2 hours of sleep would be really cool.
Yeah.
No more time in the day. But actually, I don't want any more time in the day. No, I want space travel. That's still my
I knew it. I knew the more you thought about it, you'd backtrack on it. I knew you'd be like, oh yeah, productivity. Like you'd be just, and then you'd be like, wait, no, I like to sleep.
I don't want more time in the day. Give me less time. Let me have to sleep 12 hours a day.
take time out of the day for me. I mean, I guess technically you can sleep for more than that. It's just you don't need to.
Well, I mean, I guess if I slept 12 hours every day, I wouldn't be able to after like a while. I'd be like, I have to force it. I can be in bed for 12 hours a day for sure, but actually sleeping 12 hours, I don't know if I could sleep 12 hours twice in a row.
Yeah, I'm on that. Okay, well, that'll wrap it for Old Man's War. I think it is an incredible sci-fi book that really touches on some cool themes without like hammering them into your brain. Like, does it take a lot of time out and just be like, this is what we're trying to make you think? I think it just does a really great job of making you think about them through the course of the book, as well as having just some cool, fun elements like calling your personal brain pal assistant asshole, and throughout the entire book referring it to as "Hey asshole," and that's how you say it.
I was a big fan of the drill sergeant.
Yeah,
that's me cackling, dude. I was dying at that one, and then he's like, what the hell do you do, John Perry? And he's like, I'm a writer, sir. And he's like, by God, please tell me you write fiction. And he's like, no, sir. I write advertising. And he's like, advertising? What kind of shit is that? And then he ate his one advertising thing he was popular for. The sergeant happens to have a big tattoo on his back.
They were actually for that. Oh, this is a big thing, and I'm just remembering it now. That actually made me think of something. Do you think that it's real? Like, I know it's fiction. It's a fictional book, but some of the things that happened for John Perry are so outlandish that it's like I almost expected throughout the book for them to be like, he's been dead the whole time. This is a dream.
He woke up with the gas.
Right? Like that's what I was expecting sometimes, like especially towards the end where, all right, spoiler alert, another spoiler alert, where he like finds the wife's version of his body has another woman in it, and they fall in love, and it's like, well, not fall in love, but like they
fall in love, fall in like, and there's an implication they could fall in love in the future.
Yeah. And then the parallel between as she is, like, they're in the middle of battle, and instead of saying, where did I put those molasses, she goes, where did I put that magazine clip? And then, like, that parallel between the two. Did you notice that, by the way? No? So, like, yeah, that recurring theme of when his wife dies, she goes, where did I put that molasses? And then she has a stroke. She hits the side of the table, and she's dead, and, like she's dead, and there's nothing John Perry can do. And then there's the parallel between when Jane is in the middle of the battle, and she goes, where did I put that magazine clip? And then boom, she gets blown up. And
then he saves her.
Yeah.
That is fun.
Yeah, it is fun. That was one of the moments, and then the drill sergeant were moments where I was like, this feels too good to be true. Like, is there gonna be a like, oh, it was a fantasy the whole time? But no, it was just the author having fun, I guess.
Yeah, I think as readers and consumers of media, everyone should do better at letting authors have fun.
Yeah.
That was a good thing. That was just fun. Everyone enjoyed it. It was just good stuff, right? Like let's get into more of that in general, right?
Yeah, let's have some more fun with our writing. Okay.
Let's our suspension of belief.
Yes, love a suspension of disbelief. I need to be better about that. All right, that is going to wrap Old Man's War. And so thank you so much, Sydney. I really appreciate you bearing with me through some of the technical difficulties. Thank you, all of y'all, for doing the same. We are going to keep doing this. You know, the last Saturday of every month is where we meet to talk about the books that we've read. We also have a Discord, so please feel free to join there. But if it's easier for you, just hop on YouTube and I will do my best to edit these and get them up. But it takes me forever, but I'm trying to be better about that. Let us know what you thought, if you've read the book, anything you noticed, what we should have talked about, and in general, just keep reading. Sydney, you want to take us home?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Suspension of disbelief. That's the important thing about books. That's it.
Agreed. All right, stop the recording. Oof. Good job, man. That was a good talk.
Thank you. I don't feel like I really hear right now, but I'm enjoying it.
You say you're not really here right now?
I don't feel here, but
Maybe split screen is it any better? No, not really.
hey, Melina, what should we do for dinner? What should we do for dinner? Huh? Perfect.
What'd she say? Chipotle?
Now she's actually come up here and talk to me about it.
Oh,
We can figure out.
gotta figure out. Yeah, dude. The day is an important thing to figure out. All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna restart my computer, see if maybe that fixes something.
Okay,
So
sure.
I'll be back in like a minute. Are you still good? Do you want to do song? Are you good to do Song of the Cell?
As long as we don't kind of dilly dally.